Bam. How are you this morning? It's Friday. I'm supposed to be live streaming at 9, and I've managed to make it here at 10. Oh, well. What are you going to do? So, how are you this morning? What are you up to? What's going on? Am I even let me just check this stuff here. Let's go to the settings. Every day we kind of do the same thing. Something's screwed up. I can tell. Okay, here we go. You can hear me. I know that now. So I did wonder about this. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Oh, well, I was looking at the settings. I don't understand them. I don't mean to talk so low. So I guess, we should get going. We should talk about things. So here's what I got for you today. Today is Friday, which means that all the listings that have been coming soon for the past week are now going active. I have to schedule showings. The showing schedule so far is today I have 2 showings, tomorrow I have 2 showings, and that's where I'm at. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming up for me. I have some buyers that are moving into town, but they need to get their own stuff in order first. And I'm not, like, every day you're a real estate agent, you worry, I think, about, is there ever going to be another client to come my way? And, the answer always seems to be yes. And oddly enough, it tends to come on bad days. So, like, let's say one buyer is leaving the market because, they don't feel like there's any value in this market. They don't feel like this is the time to go and buy a house. And that's disappointing. And then maybe a day or two later, somebody will call and say, would you list my house? Or let's talk about, going and buying a house or something like that. So it's hard on you mentally. It's tough. And there's times where you just have to tell yourself to stop thinking negatively. I just noticed on the screen, I got a white streak right here, right there. I don't know. I'm growing out my beard for a while. My wife hates it. I've never grown out my beard, so I don't know if I hate it or not. The last time I got this far was during the 2 weeks to stop the spread. During that time, because we weren't supposed to do anything. So anyway, of the houses today, I think that we have one odd one. Let me just go over it with you. So you have these searches set up for your buyers, and if you do a good job, they make a lot of sense. If you do a bad job, they don't make a lot of sense. But this one search we've had going on for maybe 6 months, and it's like a radius search of where the person lives now, where the buyer lives now. And so we've seen pretty much everything that's available in every neighborhood, and we're kind of used to the prices when we're used to the street names, the addresses now. I mean, like, we know everything pretty well. We're in great position to buy a home. But earlier this week, a home came on the market that was priced, in our opinions, way too low. So there had to be something wrong. So there needed to be something in the disclosures or something that said, this house is terrible. I'm not seeing it. So we have to go see the house in person tonight. I did run comps already. It is remarkably low price, which means that it's going to cause a bidding war. Still in our market, it's very, very, very tough. So we will definitely see a higher number than asking on this house, as long as it's representative of what the pictures show. I don't know. I'm very intrigued by that house. And then another house, I have a buyer that you know, some buyers want to do the search on their own. Like they want to find properties and send them to you. And then other buyers are like, they want you to like, hey, I think this might be a good idea. And so that's what we're going to do on this one. I saw a house I think would be a good idea for this particular buyer. And we're going to go take a look this afternoon. And that's going to be that. So, odd situation weather-wise, kind of rainy today. Normally people don't buy houses in the rain. They should. That's the way I've always felt, but it doesn't work that way. And then coming up Monday and Tuesday, I think it's supposed to be over 100 degrees here in St. Louis. That will pretty much stop anybody from getting real excited to buy. And I know you say, like, how can weather affect buying patterns and things like that? Well, I don't believe it, but I continually see it in the marketplace. So I don't know. That's the way it is. So, as you know, I'm coming to you late today. Just kind of refining what I'm doing. I have some commitments time-wise today that I need to kind of be ready for. But at the same time, I just, I used to have things set up so tight. Like, here's the morning setup, like right at this time, it's going to go active. I could preset it. When I changed over programs for streaming, this one doesn't set showings in advance very well. You can, but it just doesn't do a very good job at it. It doesn't allow you to take what you've previously worked on and set it there. I used to set it in YouTube and then have this, then the program would know that it was there and it would automatically pick it up and it would be ready to go. This program doesn't do that, and it's very annoying. So I guess I could look into that. I've got like 20 things going on where I'm kind of being pulled in many, many different directions. But the format still should be better because we should be going over more real estate news. In addition to, fun stuff that we can see. Yesterday it was great for that. And then today, let's get into it. Let me show you what I've got. Well, no, I won't be able to show you, but let me tell you that, I on Google Trends, and both for the day and immediately, like up to the minute, there's just nothing. There's nothing I want to talk about. Everything is depressing. Everything is sad. Everything is odd. I do think that search results are manipulated based on what I see, because there's no way some of these things would cause any sort of blip on the screen. And yet here they are, like the top 5, top 10 subjects of the day. We're being manipulated. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was, I've been doing a live stream now for almost, I'd say at least 8 or 9 months. And I haven't gotten anywhere as far as, I haven't gotten any traction whatsoever. Nobody even knows I exist. I'm just out there in the ether, live stream after live stream, hopefully getting better. But, there's times like today where it's like, I'm wondering. But I have a tremendous respect now for people that can stream, that can hold an audience for an hour or 2 or 3 or 4. I mean, I've seen some people just go on and just be able to captivate an audience for such a long time. And I don't know if it's the same. Like, do you remember DJs? I don't know if they still exist. But there'd be the radio station, okay, and then these people they'd come on every, 2 or 3 songs, and they'd say, well, here's a new song from so-and-so. I say this because my younger audience may never have ever seen, like, they may never use a radio. They wouldn't even know. Anyway, they would actually be, the DJs would be their own personalities. So especially in St. Louis on KC95, you'd have like the U-Man, that was John Hewlett, Smash, I'm sorry. That was Asher Ben Ruby. Then there was some other guys too. There was a guy named Randy. But anyway, so there'd be these guys on the radio, and they'd have these interesting topics, and they would I mean, they went to school to be DJs, I guess, and they were they were really good at talking on the radio, and they wouldn't have any of these like pauses or these words like that I throw in there. But they were really good at it, and I never really gave them as much credit as I should have. Some of them can do morning shows, uh, and they did it, 5 days a week. And I'm telling you, I run out of things to talk about every day. Like I just can't imagine running that tight of a show for days and days and days, and then it's just impressive. I The reason why I think it's impressive is I've only been doing this, like I said, for 8 months. These people did it for years, and when they even started, they were way more polished than I am. Like I feel like I'm getting better over time. I feel like I can kind of hold it, but again, it's hard to do a live stream by yourself. That's tough. And you should normally have guests, but when you don't have any real pull, it's hard to have guests. When you can't, what am I gonna promise somebody? My audience? I don't have an audience. There's no one here. So it's kind of like, why would you come on a show if you're not going to get any sort of subscriptions or any sort of followers or any sort of anything like that? And that's kind of where I'm at. So we just keep going. Would be interesting to see if we could get somewhere. We'll just keep trying. But anyway, a tremendous amount of respect. And then my wife told me long ago that she used to be on the radio, and I was like, okay. And I didn't think anything of it. And I'm pretty sure that most people out there think the same way. Like, oh, you were on the radio. I'm sure it was, great, and you were good at it, and everything's great. But man, it's hard. It is hard to put together for me, it's hard to put together a program and have something to talk about and do it on a day-to-day basis and have it somewhat compelling. And I'm just kind of blown away by it. Pretty much everything I do is like, man, that's tricky. I'm really surprised that it was that difficult. But this is a fascinating medium, and I hope it takes off. But it is what it is. So at the end of the day, I mean, can I put more cliches together? I'm just saying, like, when you talk to somebody that's done like live streams for a long time, when you talk to somebody that's done radio for a long time, man, give them some level of respect. It's not as easy as you would think. And if you don't believe me, try it yourself. I mean, try it yourself. It's and I'm not saying that I'm good at it. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is just to get the experience of like putting together a show every day and communicating in a way that people can understand or that it's compelling. It's a lot harder than I would have thought. So with that being said, let's get into some articles today. Let's get into some real estate stuff. Since I've kind of changed formats, my level of I'm much more calm, and I don't speak as loudly, and it's like a whole different person. I assure you, I'm the same guy I was 6 months ago. I don't know why it comes across like it does now, but we'll just get into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today first thing I want to talk about is how do I get to my settings where I need to be. Okay, let me check one thing real quick. So in case things get squirrely, we've got a chance. There's all these ads and all this stuff. I don't want you to be stuck seeing that. So, okay, here we go. Let's go here. And we'll go here. Let's go talk about interest rates. I don't know why that's like that. That's weird. But anyway, first thing I wanted to tell you is, if you can see that on the screen, it looks like you can. right here where it says 0 results returned, that's normally where my IDX feed goes. My IDX feed, the company behind the company changed the format for the IDX feeds. And so all of my stuff is destroyed. All of my stuff is destroyed. Everything here is like see this, St. Louis County? Nothing. The only one that works right now is Homes for Sale in St. Louis City. That's the only one that works on the whole website. I have over 900 IDX pages that are not working right now. It took me years to put together all those IDX pages. And so it's very, very depressing. And I'm trying to not get upset about it, but it's one of those things that's just, it hurts and I'm not happy about it. And so anyway, let's look at the interest rates. They haven't really changed much. 5.55%. I'm sorry. I believe that's up. No, it's about the same. 5.55%. Again, anything over 5.5% hurts people when they're trying to buy a house. When they've seen the market show them something for, around 3%. This is a problem. So now that you know that, let's go move on to other things, right? I thought this article was interesting. It says Redfin advises listing sooner. I want to change this. I don't know if it's going to do better. I have to, oh God, that's terrible. I don't want to do that. I want to do this one, right? I like this one. We'll go here today. We'll try it. If you can't read it, I'm going to check the live stream tonight when I get some time and see if you can read this. But I got to kind of set things up a certain way if I want to run decent clips. And so we're going to try it this way. And let's just see how we go. Okay, so it says, Redfin advises listing sooner rather than later, pricing slightly below recent comps and other home selling tips for a changing market. Well, that's pretty nice. Like Redfin, as I've told you in the past, does a very, very fine job in their research and then using that research as a marketing tool that distinguishes them from companies such as Zillow. Zillow owns Trulia, so that doesn't really matter. There's homes.com, I believe, but I don't use that. And then Realtor.com. Realtor.com does a great job writing articles about the current real estate market, but they don't use as much data as Redfin does. And so anyway, you've heard me talk about it. You say, why do you use Redfin? You're not a Redfin agent, and you don't even, you're kind of skeptical of Redfin's business practices. And it's true, I am, but the research is top notch. And the way they use it to market is top notch. If I were, a larger real estate brokerage, I would put out data like this. I would have it done all the time, because at least online, it's something that seems to be attractive to everyone. It seems to, everybody in the housing market will look at your stuff. So here we go. This is the bullet points. It says, Redfin experts share some home selling strategies as mortgage rates rise and home buyer demand falls. It says, price your home slightly lower than similar homes that sold recently in your neighborhood. Remember that buyers are sensitive to rising rates. List as soon as possible. Make small repairs and stage your home. And if you price your home right, you'll find a buyer. Though demand has fallen, it remains above pre-pandemic levels. Now, this, to me, this is a little bit too vicious for St. Louis. I do agree that you should list as soon as possible. I remember talking to a buyer's friend who was with them on their journey, and they had a house that they needed to sell. And they were like, I can't sell this house. It's garbage. And I kept telling them, just put it on the market, get it out there, get it on the market. And I did get a listing appointment, but I didn't get the listing, which is hilarious because, here I'm the one telling her that she needs to do this, and then she uses somebody else. It's par for the course, though, in my life. And I truly understand things aren't going to go your way all the time. So anyway, there, let's distinguish between two different things. One, as a salesperson, do you want to create an incentive to do something? So, like, when as a salesperson are you going to say it's not a good time to list your home? Especially if you're on a listing appointment. You know, you want to create a circumstance in which they have to list right now. Because remember, you get paid when you sell the house. That's 30 days away from today, most of the time. So when you induce this, sense of urgency to purchase a house, you're doing typical sales work. But what if it is actually true? So in this market, like, there's never going to be a time when you talk to a real estate agent where they're going to say, oh, you shouldn't list your house tomorrow. But it may or may not be true. In this case, it's to me, I think that you should list your house soon because the dynamics of the market are changing. Okay. It may even be too late based on some of the data that I see in other markets. But then again, I mean, if you're calling someone to list your home, are you going to wait until the next economic cycle comes through? That's 7 to 10 years away. I mean, are you really going to wait to try and time it like that? I don't think so. But let's continue. It says the housing market is shifting from a red hot seller's market to one where buyers have some power. After nearly 2 years of a housing supply shortage and bidding wars for most homes that did come on the market, higher mortgage rates and surging prices have put a damper on home buyer demand. So let's just dissect this for a moment. Higher mortgage rates, true. Surging prices, true. That's true. That's true. For homeowners thinking of selling, strategies are shifting to sell homes quickly for top dollar. Sellers should stay one step ahead of the current housing market. We've compiled tips from Redfin economists and real estate agents on how to sell a home in the changing market. We advise sellers to contact a local Redfin agent. Of course, Redfin's going to say that because this is who wrote the article, to come up with the best plan for their unique home and situation. The tips below are general. Pricing and timing are key. Pricing and timing are always critical when it comes to selling a home, but especially in the current market. Redfin economists advise listing your home as soon as possible and pricing it slightly lower than you would have earlier this year. Kind of interesting. I think you'd have a tough sell to go into a seller's house today and say, hey, I think we should list it $10,000 less than what the comps indicate we should list it for in the real world. And you walk out of there with the listing. It says, I don't need to read this, but I can, I guess. It says, during the pandemic fueled housing frenzy, sellers could count on getting more money for their home than a neighbor who sold last month. Those days are over. Now you should expect to get a bit less than what your neighbor got a month ago. And in a month, you may get less than you would get now. That causes me to think about something. Let me. I'm in a different window. I just want to see if that's true. I was messing around with a house last week, and I want to see if it did. It did. Okay. So there was this house that I was looking at, and I was trying to get a hold of for my buyer, and it just I don't know. It did go pending. It was priced too high. I hope that whatever offer they took for it, worked out for them, basically. But anyway, let's continue with the article. It says, we don't expect prices to fall lower than they were a year ago, but price growth will likely slow as the year goes on. Sellers should list their home as soon as they reasonably can. I think that's true, but I've thought that's true for the whole time. I mean, as soon as I saw the market going crazy, I was like, list your house, list your house, list your house. Unfortunately, the people that would have listed their house with me, many of them, also needed to buy a house. And so it turned into just a locked up situation. Sellers should also price accordingly. A good strategy is to price your home slightly lower than what comparable homes in your neighborhood sold for about a month ago. That should give sellers an advantage because their price will be slightly lower than comps in your area, drumming up interest from potential buyers. You want your home to be the obvious choice in your neighborhood. As prices decline slightly on a month-to-month basis, due partly to typical seasonality, a small discount from the previous month may be close to fair market value. Talk to your local Redfin agent about pricing in your area, as prices may not decline from the month before in every part of the country. Now, a couple things. Number one, I'm a real estate professional. I don't care about, like, I'm talking to you across the entire United States, maybe the world. Am I nervous about a Redfin agent stealing my business? No, because people that I wouldn't have their business anyway, they're not using me. It's just the way it is. I don't mind quoting Redfin on these things because they produce the best data. I mean, I'm a small real estate firm in St. Louis County. I mean, I'm not Redfin. I can't lose money every single year and still stay in business like Redfin can. So, I'm not worried. If you think I'm advertising for them, I am kind of advertising for their research. It's spot on. The way they market is just fantastic. Okay, let's look at this. It says, for example, the Seattle condo sold for $450,000 in May. If you're planning to sell a comparable condo in the same building in June, consider listing it for around $430,000, slightly less than the one listed a month earlier. This is fascinating. It says homes tend to sell for what they're worth. If your asking price is truly too low compared to other similar homes in the area, buyers will build it up to a fair price. It's better to price slightly low than receive zero offers. Now, I do believe that the first weekend, and this has been true for a long time, like the first weekend is key. If you can't get the house sold within the first 7 days under contract, just expect to get a lower than asking offer. Ultimately accepted. It says rising mortgage rates are a major reason why sellers should price their home lower than they would have earlier in the year. Sellers should keep in mind that buyers are sensitive to mortgage rates, which have risen from about 3% to over 5% since the beginning of the year, bringing monthly mortgage payments up near record highs. Even if the price of a home is the same as it was earlier in 2022, monthly mortgage payments will be higher. That's exactly right. And I've told you about this. It's like, let's say my buyer could afford a $425,000 home. In the threes. Well, now they can't afford that $425,000 home. So let's say you live in the neighborhood where the house sold for $425,000. You're just going to have a lot less buyers if you price it at $425,000. Now, how many people? This is kind of funny because this has caused problems for a long time, at least in this market. Is we look at things, and we should be looking at things in terms of percentage, is my opinion. So if you drop your house price from $425,000 to say $410,000, is anybody even going to notice? Because see, we're way up in the price. We're way up in the numbers. If we're at $100,000 and we lower the price $15,000, that's significant. That's a significant price cut. But I mean, $15,000 on $425,000, nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to say, "Hey, that's really cheap. I should go ahead and buy that house." So that's kind of an issue. Now they're doing 20 on 450 and 430 in Seattle. Rising mortgage rates are, I don't know if I read this, but if I did, I'm sorry. Rising mortgage rates are a major reason why sellers should price their home lower than they would have earlier in the year. Sellers should keep in mind that buyers are sensitive to mortgage rates, which have risen from about 3 to 5%. So I did read that. So I'm sorry. It says other timing tips. Consider selling to an iBuyer. Avoid listing your home before a holiday weekend and be ready for showing. Because selling your home fast is so important in today's market, consider selling to an iBuyer like Redfin. Now, again, a Redfin service. iBuyers make all cash offers, which aren't impacted by mortgage rates. Well, they will be. They will be, but they don't know that. And close transactions as quickly as 10 days. So deals are unlikely to fall through. However, are you going to get the same price that you would if you had it on the open market? It's better to list sooner than later, but if you're going to list your home later in the summer, avoid the week before holiday weekends. Homes just listed before holiday weekends tend to get less online page views and less interest from buyers. So don't list right before the 4th of July or Labor Day. That's true. Remember that access helps sell homes. Accommodate every showing request. Absolutely. And why that's even an issue, why it even has to be brought up is amazing to me. I mean, it does, though. It does. If you're living in your home while it's on the market, try to always be ready to briefly leave the house and leave it in a clean, uncluttered state when last-minute tour requests come in. Hold an open house if you need to. If you're not living in the home, consider a lockbox that lets prospective buyers enter the house on their own timeline. The more showings, the more likely you are to get an offer. I agree with that in general. I don't advise leaving a lockbox on the home. I've always thought a super is better for security purposes, but hey, what do I know? It says be strategic about price drops. To keep the ball in the seller's court, it's best to avoid a price drop, but that's not always possible. Nearly 1 in 5 home sellers dropped their price last month, and not necessarily because they were overpriced, but because the market and what buyers are willing to pay has shifted since the beginning of the year. That's true. It's true, but I've seen many people still coming to market, way over what is sold in the market. The house I was just looking up, they came to market $25,000-$30,000 over what the last house had sold in the neighborhood. And they still got an offer. But this isn't St. Louis, and maybe we're just a little backwards and behind. I know that when we were crushed during the recession in 2008, 2009, I know I went to Denver, Colorado, and they had construction cranes downtown, and they were building all over the place. And yet when I was trying, St. Louis was just dead. There was nothing going on. So maybe we're just a lagging community in general. It says if you need to drop the price of your home, be strategic. Have an ongoing conversation with your local agent about which comparable homes in your area are selling, what they're selling for, and how to be competitive. Make sure your price remains slightly lower than the homes that aren't selling. Now, funny fact, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, one of the policies that I have in my brokerage when I'm listing a house is that every Friday we do a market update. And that is on Friday, you're going to get a call from me, and we're going to talk about, what happened in the past week, what we should do heading into the weekend. And then here's what's sold. Should we buy, sell, or hold? Should we hold on the same price? Or should we lower the price? Or what should we do? And, that was a part of my business for a long time. I think that sellers appreciated it. And, what we would look at the other houses that have sold in that week and, what was wrong with our house compared to those other houses. I didn't have any problem going to look at houses that were currently for sale in competition with ours to see, are we off on the price by some, large margin? What do we need to do? And I had a search set up specifically for those people, but the market changed so dramatically that, anything I listed would sell, and it would sell within the first weekend. So there was no need to talk every Friday about what's going on in the marketplace because the house was already gone. As I sit here and read this article, I started thinking, maybe this trend that I used to do, or maybe this policy is something that's going to have to come back and we'll have to start talking about in the future again. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm prepared for it. I'm happy to have those conversations with my sellers. A good rule of thumb is to look at the typical number of days of homes stay on the market in your area. If that number has come and gone and you haven't received any offers, it's a sign you may need to lower your price. Now, I would say this: if you've got a house in this market and it's 7 days and you've had it active for 7 days and you don't have an offer, then something's wrong. That used to be 30 days. It's wild, isn't it? How different it is. It says showings and tours are also strong indicators of when a price drop may be necessary. If your home is sitting on the market for 2 weeks and nobody's toured it, Prospective buyers are probably passing it over because it seems too expensive. If you've had 30 showings in 2 weeks and nobody's made an offer, the price may need to come down. I've never had a situation where I had 30 showings in like a weekend, so a little different than this article, and a house not go under contract. I just haven't ever had that situation. The more showings, the more buyers. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's say I walk through a house with my buyer in a normal market and the house seems too expensive, but we like the house. So we put an offer, to what level we think it should sell for. Does the listing agent appreciate that in a normal market? Yes. And they'll probably do a counter if they're interested in truly selling the house. If they're not, they will be offended by the price that I put on the piece of paper and will tell me that, I'm terrible and all this other stuff. Those people aren't serious. Those people don't want to sell houses. They just want to, waste everyone's time. But in this market, I have put in a few offers below asking on houses that I think warrant it, and I've not gotten anywhere. I mean, it's a stupid thing to do, but it's just the way I've always done it. You're not going to know if you're not in the business and you're not selling houses or buying houses. You're not going to know when the market changes. Okay. By the time the market's changed, by the time the press catches up with it, we're talking 6 months, even with all the information that we can get these days, because you have to kind of hammer it. Like, sellers right now aren't going to believe you. They don't believe you that the market is soft. All of their friends have sold for more than asking. Everyone's got a story about how great things are. They're not going to believe you. This is just the way it is. So it says looks matter more than they did a year ago. Well, that's not true. That's not true. Let me just state unequivocally, if your house has the right paint colors, if your house has the right appliances, if your house has the right kitchen countertops, right kitchen cabinets, the bathroom is a certain way, your house is always going to bring more money and always going to sell faster than someone that doesn't have those things. Okay. No one cares about the furnace. No one cares about the water heater. No one cares about the roof. No one cares about the electricity. Should you care about those things? Yes, probably more than you should care about the color of the walls. Do people care about those things? No. By and large, 5% of buyers may be interested in those things. No, they're looking at two things. One, how nice is the house? And are there any changes I need to make when I move in here? Get back to the roots of what sells a home. At the height of the market, strategies like staging and painting often weren't critical for nice homes in desirable neighborhoods. Sellers could expect to get multiple offers without even staging and with some visible flaws. This is true. Now sellers need to be thorough when it comes to preparing their homes for photos and tours. But keep in mind that getting your home on the market quickly is key, so be reasonable. Make small repairs, stage your home, and make sure the yard is clean, but don't waste time with more time-consuming renovations. That's something that I do believe as well. We had a house last year around Memorial Day, and the sellers, I'd first met them maybe in, like January or February. And they spent a long time getting that house ready to go to the market, whereas I kept telling them, just get it out there. It's not going to matter. It didn't matter. I mean, they got what they wanted to. But like people talk about often, they'll say like, well, should I put a new bathroom in before I sell my house? Well, what's a new bathroom going to cost you? $15,000? And then when are you going to get that thing done? Like probably not next week. It's probably going to take a month or more. So I don't think that makes any sense. I don't think it's ever made any sense. Price it a little lower. We're in the middle of a housing market correction. In the middle of a correction, you see nothing yet. Sellers can still get an excellent price for their homes with the right strategy, but buyers are also able to be more discerning. Buyers aren't going to overpay for a home that needs a ton of work anymore. The fact that they ever did was ridiculous. Give your home a deep clean, stage it, consider a fresh paint job, do some landscaping, put effort into selling your home, and you'll attract a small pool of tenacious buyers. Like last week, I had an offer. Well, we have 30 offers on that house. It's still ridiculous here in my market. It says, Redfin agents recommend the following strategies to prepare your home to show. Make small repairs. If the house appears problem-free to prospective buyers, they're more likely to put an offer. Buyers will Probably bring in a professional home inspector before closing. With the market cooling, buyers are less likely to waive the inspection contingency, but it's beneficial to fix anything that's visibly unpleasant. Honestly, we talked about this week. What are you better doing as a buyer's agent? Are you better as a buyer's agent putting in an offer on a property that you know has a bunch of issues and then acting surprised when the inspector finds all kinds of terrible stuff, and then your seller or your buyer gets all upset and wants to get out of the offer? Or do you bring up things that you can visibly see that are odd and don't make any sense with your buyer beforehand and condition that offer on those things that you've found? It's a dilemma. I don't know that there's a good answer that's worked. It's definitely not worked for me either way. I hate to actually, I only do it one way. I cannot stand the idea of being a real estate agent and pretending to be so dumb as a buyer's agent that you don't see massive issues with a house and then allow the home inspector to be the one to tell the buyer that they shouldn't buy the house. I mean, what is your, like, as a buyer's agent, you really couldn't see this issue? Like, really? It doesn't make any sense to me. Never has. It says, pay attention to your home's curb appeal. When prospective buyers tour your home, you want their first impression to be a good one. Power wash the siding and driveway if necessary. Mow the lawn, plant some flowers, and make sure buyers can picture themselves living in a low-maintenance lifestyle as they walk up to the front door. It's very funny to me. In St. Louis, like starting in May, the grass will grow like within a week. I mean, it'll grow and it'll look terrible. And so you get in a spot where, like, you know, your home seller wants to know when you're going to be by to take the pictures and video, because they'll want to cut the grass before that. And then that could be 2 weeks before the house goes on the market. So they'll have had to cut the grass again. And a lot of sellers will time when they cut their grass around your, when you list the property. And then that's a tough thing in St. Louis that I've had to deal with a lot of times, is I have to call landscape companies or lawn cutters out to properties all the time and just keep the grass looking decent during the time that the property's listed. I mean, if you say you move out and you cut the grass the day you move out, I mean, by the time that house sells in 30 days, the grass could be a foot or more. I mean, it's just a field, so that you're going to get dinged for, you know, so you have to keep the grass cut. It's funny. I saw a house the other day that was listed on a main street here in St. Louis, and that house, the lawn was very nice. The house next to it, the people lived there, but they just didn't get to cutting the grass, and it was like a foot high. And what was really problematic is you have this house and it looks nice, but people are also buyers are concerned about, you know, the neighborhood and the neighbors, and if they see that your neighbors can't take care of their yard, they don't want to live next to that stuff. So it's very fascinating, very disappointing for the seller, because the house stayed on the market for a while. Stage your home. The power of feng shui, of beautiful furniture and artfully arranging your throw pillows, is real. Perfectly placed furniture and soothing decor help buyers picture themselves living in the home, and staging typically doesn't take that long. So it's a quick way to spruce up your home. I know one company in St. Louis City. I feel like they do a fantastic job of making sure all of their listings are staged, and the staging looks great. I know it makes an impact on people that don't know that it's staged and don't realize it. I don't know. I believe staging is very helpful for a house, but I also question sometimes, you know, how much are we going to spend on staging versus, you know, what are we going to get out of it? Sometimes a terrible house is just a terrible house. I hate to say it. Hire a professional photographer to capture the best possible image of your home listing. That's, you know what? I'll tell you something. I use a professional photographer, and he is very, very good. And I see listings online from agents that are doing more business than I do that are not as good as my pictures, not as good as my listings, but yet they have more listings. I think it matters, but I don't think that the general public realizes that it matters. When you go on a listing appointment, no one asks you who your photographer is going to be. No one asks you for a copy of your previous listings. And to be fair, you know, some of the houses I list aren't the greatest houses in the world. They may not have the right paint. They may not be staged right. They may not, you know, they may be priced a certain way for a certain reason. So It's tough. It's tough, but I do think, uh, I do think photos are very important. I also think that if you list a house and your photos don't match the home, they've been retouched, you've hidden things in the photos. Let's say you have a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home, and you only have pictures of one of the bathrooms, and the other one is terrible, and so you just didn't bother to list it. You didn't bother to put it in your pictures. Things like that. One of the things we saw on luxury listings for a long time is you have 100 pictures, but there's 3 pictures of the exact same thing. You're just too lazy to get them out of there. I don't know. Now, I always use, I do provide an online 3D tour. I also use a video to perhaps bring people through the home. I don't always get anywhere. I mean, like right now, no seller cares if I'm doing a video. They're all about their house needs to sell tomorrow. And the video is not going to help because they're going to be gone. I don't know. It's things that I do for my listings that others don't do, but I don't necessarily feel like I'm being rewarded for it. Again, I see people that do much less get many more listings than I do. Just keep your home clean as possible. Stay on top of sweeping and vacuuming, dusting, doing the dishes, and picking up toys and books from the floor, folding clothing, etc. Let me tell you a few things that irritate me when I'm on a showing, and then see if you do them. One, dirty dishes on the counter, dirty dishes in the sink will not fly. That's not going to work. And I don't care if the house is $100,000 house or $1 million house. It just won't fly. Bedding, believe it or not, like you got to have a cover on your bed. You have to have it. This is if you have furniture in the house. You need to have a cover on the bed. You need to have nice pillows. You need to have it looking inviting. It can't be all messed up. Pet smells. I don't know how to explain this to some people, but your cat stinks. Your cat smells really bad, and it keeps your house from getting top dollar. Because the moment I walk in and the house smells like cat pee, I just want to leave. Same thing with dogs. Wet dog smell. Big wet dog smell. You might think that your dog's wonderful, and I'm sure the dog is, but I don't want to deal with that smell. So, and then the other thing that I think is important that not many people notice is look, cobwebs show up quickly. Like so in lighting areas and lighting spaces, see if you can just get a little broom up there and get the cobweb out. Because it looks strange. People will notice that stuff. Buyers will look at your house a lot more critically than you ever did when you walked into your home in the past, 6 months for the most part. Next one, it says, be open in negotiations. I was just checking to see if anyone was in the chat. I apologize. Let me say this here. Oh, that's ugly. Okay, let's go back here. It says, be open in negotiations. It may be a tough pill for sellers to swallow, but buyers have some power in today's market, just like they may pay less for a home when the mortgage rates were at a record low. Buyers may be tougher negotiators, and sellers should make some concessions. Sellers can no longer expect offers that waive inspection, financing, and or appraisal contingencies. Well, they can hope for that. With those contingencies in place, there's room for a deal to fall through, and in most cases, it's better to negotiate with the buyer and perhaps give up a few $1,000s than to search for a new buyer. Time is of the essence, and you don't want to put the home back on the market and start over. I've been watching a house that's been on the market on a very popular street. It went on the market and it was immediately under contract. Didn't like the house when it came on the market. Then it went back on the market, and I had a buyer that was interested in that home. So we went and looked at it closer, and I really, really didn't like it then. There were some construction issues that I thought were just ridiculous for the price and the location. And so I said, I'm not interested in this home. If you are, we'll write an offer. But he said, no, I totally understand. The house again went under contract. And just yesterday it went out of contract because the house has some issues, and it was used as a rental. And now it needs a lot. And there's things that you can't fix in the home. You can't fix a kitchen that's 4 feet by 4 feet when you've only got 900 square feet to deal with in the first place. It's a mess. If a buyer requests repairs or money to do repairs themselves based on the inspection report, maybe the roof needs some shingles or there's a faulty drain in the bathroom It is in your best interest to say yes. Well, again, it depends on the situation. One perk that offers can sell, or sellers can offer to sweeten the deal: pay the buyer's closing costs. If a negotiation has started, paying closing costs should be exactly what you need to close the deal. I don't. I mean, people can ask for closing costs, but I'm low. Even in a bad market, I'm loath to give closing costs. I've always thought about like this: if you're selling the home and the buyer can't afford closing costs and they can't afford your home, don't ask. Will I ask for closing costs on the buyer side, depending on the market? Yes. Yeah. But again, it's two different transactions for me, and it's two different mindsets. Price your home right, and you'll find a buyer. Now, this is true any time, any market. While there isn't as much demand from home buyers as there was earlier this year, demand is still up from pre-pandemic levels. People buy homes every day for all sorts of reasons. People move for new jobs, to be near family, or to be in a different climate, or because they recently retired, among other personal reasons. Not everyone can drop out of the market because the mortgage rates are up. That's true, and that's what I'm saying. One piece of advice for sellers: remember that there are buyers out there looking for homes just like yours. I can't promise multiple offers anymore, and they may not come on the first day, but we're getting strong offers when the home is priced right. Trust that you will find the right buyer for your home. That's very interesting. Texas now, they're not getting multiple offers. That's what it says. I don't know if I believe that. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know. Weird. Okay. Well, let's move on. I think this is interesting. It says, and just like that, the housing market has changed. That's just from the Tacoma Daily Index. I don't know anything about this. I don't even know if this is, I don't know anything about this. It says, in a sense, we all knew this had to happen. Like every commodity, a home only has value if a potential buyer can afford it. Average pay went up about 5% annually the past few years. The cost of housing in many areas went up 20% or more per year. You don't need to be a highly paid financial analyst to see that the math just doesn't add up. And an increase in interest rates, and you add in increases in interest rates, and you have a housing market that looks like a game of musical chairs with fewer and fewer players. And then there were none. The buyers just stopped buying, said one agent with Redfin. Some listings now sit for weeks without even a single showing in many desirable neighborhoods, where just a few months ago, if a house was on the market for 1 week, neighbors were amazed. Now they sit on the market with little interest. Now this is not the world I'm living in. In St. Louis, this is not the world I'm living in. Okay. I still have to fight and kick and scream and make stupid offers to get houses under contract. Nationally, new home sales plunged in April, falling 16% from March to 591,000, well below the economists' forecast of 750,000. You know, we need to talk about the expert class at some point, and who is in the expert class, what are their biases, and what happens to them if they're wrong? Is there any accountability whatsoever? Most of the time you'll find that there's not. In fact, they get promoted. Existing home sales have declined for 3 straight months, according to the National Association of Realtors. And thanks to a couple of years of construction boom, new housing inventories and accumulating available supply of unsold new single-family homes jumped by 8% in April to 444,000, a 13-year high. See, this article is like nothing like what I'm dealing with, and that's why I wanted to do the live stream for you. That's why I want you to understand your market can be different, okay? But you don't know because you're probably not watching your market that closely. So when I'm telling you my market isn't the way this article is being portrayed, you should know, like, hey, maybe my market's similar to John's market, maybe it's not, you know. But be skeptical. It says most of us will never see interest rates back to 3% ever. Well, we don't know that. In fact, many economists say that the interest rates could hit 8% by January. That's only 6 months from now. Okay. Well, again, the economists couldn't get the price of, or couldn't get the home inventory right. They missed on the CPI numbers this morning. I mean, I don't really have any interest for what they say. It says home prices haven't started falling, at least not much, and not yet. Home sales in King County increased, climbing nearly 20% from a year ago, but many real estate professionals expect prices and values to drop about 10% by January of 2023. I would love to meet an agent that says it should drop about 10%, and then I'd like to question them afterwards if it actually did happen or didn't. It says, but sales have started falling. New single-family homes sales dropped by 16.6% month over month, the biggest monthly drop in nearly 9 years, while sales plunged 26.9% year over year to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 591,000, according to data recent released by the U.S. Census Bureau, which I don't trust, and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which I also don't trust. I literally live this every day. I don't really need these experts to tell me how the market is going. I know what it's like. And as far as this drop, the drop should be attributed to the fact there was no inventory, not that there was no interest. This had to happen, it says. I had a recent unrequested housing appraisal. Our home was valued at more than 5 times what we paid for it. In what economy, on what planet is that price affordable for any typical family? We bought our house almost 30 years ago with 2 incomes. As I mentioned at the beginning, a home is a commodity like many others, but in a few ways, housing is a commodity like not at all like others. It's where we live, often the largest single purchase we will ever make. Speculators and flippers abound, but the majority of homes buyers intend to occupy their investment for many years. In short, many homeowners are like me. Our homes may be worth record prices, but we have no interest in selling for a long, long time. I would just say that the speculators and flippers are a major part of the market now, and they may not have been that high 30 years ago. It says lumber and labor. The price of lumber has dropped dramatically. Labor of all kinds is and will probably continue to be in short supply. The traditional single-family home might be the ultimate American dream, but what potential buyers want or can afford or are willing to accept has been changing and will keep changing. The housing market has proven that even the most basic foundation of the economy is not immune from the irresistible market and demographic pressures. Housing is not in bubble territory yet. It was. But the variabilities in interest rate and prices are not far from it. In fact, for patient buyers, this may be the most opportune time to buy in years. COVID and the work from home movement shifted our housing market, but as that trend retreats, home office space and commuting will return to something approximately at least resembling pre-COVID conditions. Where the real estate market is going is anybody's guess, but whatever it looks like, it won't be like the last couple of years. Okay. I guess that's where I'm at, is so what? I mean, when I work in the business every day, it's like it may change, but I mean, I have to react to the changes. I mean, that's just the way it is. So what did we learn today? Well, that's a good question. What did we learn today? Well, we learned that if you're going to want to list a house, you probably want to list it soon, like really soon. Why? Because you want to get the most money for the house. And that's different than normally when agents say you should list your house soon. That's what we learned. We learned that in Tacoma, the market has fallen off a cliff in theory, but I don't know that that's actually true. I mean, what else? Anything? Got a lot of showings today. Need to get ready for that stuff. I've also got some other stuff going on. Let me tell you here at the end of the program, and if you've stayed this long, God bless you. Please consider subscribing. I would like more than 13 followers at some point. Man, I'm going to change the oil in my kid's car today, right around 1 o'clock. I'm going to get out there and change the oil before I go do those showings. I like to change the oil in the cars that I own. Why? Well, I mean, I used to religiously get oil changes at the local garages. And one night I was driving home from, at the time, my girlfriend's house, and the no oil light came on in my car. And I'm like, no oil, no oil. How can that be? And so I was like, I get the oil changed all the time. Well, it turns out that car was burning oil, and it had been for years. And what was happening is when the guys drained the oil, they never even cared that there was no oil to be drained. There was just enough. And so I was like, this is stupid. Uh, the one thing you can do to help keep your car going for a long time is just to change the oil in timely increments. And so now I do. The funny thing is I don't think I can do it cheaper than a company here in St. Louis. So I know a guy that can get oil changes for like $35, and it costs me at least that in materials to change the oil myself, plus the time. But I still do it. Should I take my car to the garage every once in a while? Yeah, I think so. Like when it warrants repair, if there's some sort of preventative maintenance we can do. But just for oil changes at this point, I feel like I can do just as good of a job as someone at those places, and I can have a little more peace of mind to know if my car's burning oil or something like that. That I need to start putting together savings to be able to afford a new car. So, with that, I guess what I'd like you to tell me is what do you think of the new format of the show? Do you like the calm, calm, quieter me, or do you like the other me? There's like three. There's one with a really good sense of humor that comes out. There's the person that's excited and trying to knock out like 30 tasks at once, and then there's this. This is how I live, though. This is the way it's always been. So, with that, I will see you tomorrow. It'll be 9:00. Hopefully, it could be 10. Hell, I don't know. I know I got to show houses at 1, so it's not going to be that late. But I'm out. I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for chatting with me, and until tomorrow. Bye.